Neil, thank you very much for joining us. First of all, congratulations on your new book, The Ocean at the End of the Lane. For the few stragglers who haven't actually got the book yet, could you tell us a little bit about it and what we can expect?
I'd hate to tell anybody what they can expect, because I'm rather surprised them. It's a story, I suppose, about memory, amongst other things. It begins with a middle-aged man following a funeral, going back to a place that he remembers as a child, and then starting to remember properly what happened to him when he was 7. And many, many strange, dark, magical things happen to him. You have 3 ladies who, and in the darkness he is helped by 3 ladies who live at the farm at the end of the road. The youngest of them, who is about 11, says that her pond, the duck pond at the back of the farm, is actually the ocean. And the oldest of them claims to remember the Big Bang.
Fantastic. Well, I think you've pretty much encapsulated everything that we need to know about that. Everyone can go out there and get the book now from all reputable retailers. Obviously, Doctor Who, you're a big Doctor Who fan. What's your earliest memory of the show, and do you have a particular favourite episode?
Earliest memory of Doctor Who as a phenomenon actually predates the show, because I would have been 3.5, and I would have been at school, at my little kindergarten.
Yeah.
And back then, kids were given 1/3 of a pint bottles of milk, which you had to drink in the break.
Had to drink.
You had to drink a bottle of
Yeah.
1/3 of a pint of milk
Yeah.
during the break. And I noticed the other kids were doing this thing where they drink all the milk out with the straw,
Yeah.
and then they bubble in, and that was what we always did. You drank it all out, and you made bubbles.
Yeah.
But then they bend their straws over, and they'd start going, "I am a Dalek, exterminate! I will kill you! I hate you!" And I'm going, "What are they doing? What is this?" And I said to them, "What is this?" And they were saying, "This is Doctor Who. It's the Daleks." And my mum didn't, we had a television, but watching it was discouraged. And I was allowed to watch it during children's hour and watch these little puppet things happen. But I had to go to my grandparents in order to watch.
So secret mission was it?
Absolutely. And the trick was always being at my grandparents on Saturdays. So then I got to watch Doctor Who. My earliest memory of Doctor Who, actually watching one, which I also know, in the weird way of memory, was nowhere near the first episodes of Doctor Who I'd seen, but it was the first time it was sort of so weird and traumatic as to send me behind the sofa, was the Zabi.
Oh, really? The Web Planet.
The Web Planet.
Yeah.
And which is the only DVD, the only classic DVD I will not watch.
Oh, really?
Because I have these amazing memories of the Menoptera and of the Zabi. And in my head, the Zabi are the scariest things in the whole world. I don't want to go back and see these men in ant costumes bumping into the scenery.
You want to preserve that memory.
I really like having this memory of the Web Planet as just this terrifying thing. And I know that will not last, rewatching it. So I'm keeping it sacred.
It's cardboard sets and things, yeah, it would probably really, wouldn't it? We asked our, when we knew we were going to interview you, we asked our Twitter followers if they had a question for you, and it just kept coming up about the sequel to Sandman. Can you tell us how that's going, and have you got any sort of bits of information you can give us about it?
It's going slowly. One reason it's going slowly is because I kind of feel like the entire world, approximately 15 million people, are looking over my shoulder and going, "Okay, this got to be good," which is no fun at all. But it's going okay. The characters feel like the characters. They sound like the characters. It's got a big, strange, weird space opera plot, and it's going. The first issue should be out on October the 30th. And
that's fantastic.
It's been drawn by J.H. Williams, covers by Dave McKean, and it definitely feels like Sandman.
Oh, brilliant, that's fantastic. Well, I know that's going to put a lot of hearts at rest as well online. Your Doctor Who episodes, the Doctor's Wife and Nightmare in Silver, fantastic episode, loved them, 10 out of 10, both of them on our site. Lots of fans are wanting to know if you would be up for a third script. Would you be willing to do that?
Absolutely. I'm definitely, I don't even want to be coy, you know, with Nightmare in Silver it was like I was being coy. And, but I figure, you know, they would like to have me, I would like to do more. The only problem I'm having right now is the time that I probably would have spent writing a Doctor Who script this year suddenly got eaten by going on tour.
Yeah, I could imagine.
This book. Yeah. So what I'm hoping is that I can persuade Stephen Moffat, instead of getting the BBC to pay me in cash, because you know I'm now like this best-selling author. I've got enough money. I'm great. Money's just fine. So I'm wondering if maybe I can get them to start paying me in time.
Yeah.
You know, I know
that's a good one.
I know he knows people, and so if you can just sort of.
And who better than the executive producer of Doctor Who?
Well, that's what I'm hoping. If I can just get him to send me, you know, like 9 weeks envelope, you know, here's 9 weeks, and I can write in it. I don't know. I would love to write an episode for season 8. It may well be that I'm over in season 9, but I promise I haven't gone away. And the idea of writing for Peter Capaldi's Doctor is one that I find so thrilling and exciting. I've been a fan of his since Neverwhere, when he played the Angel Islington.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Incredibly well.
Wow. Well, finally, if you could take a round trip in the TARDIS anywhere in time and space, where would you go and why?
If I could take a round trip, I'd come back here. No, where would I go and why? I think the joy of a round trip in the TARDIS is what you do. Is you say, I think the best thing that we could do in the TARDIS is go off and watch the sinking of Atlantis, or, you know, because Atlantis sinks an awful lot in Doctor Who, or, you know, we'll go off and we'll actually go back to Gallifrey, or whatever. You announce where you're going, and then you get in the TARDIS, and then the doors open and you go, funny, this doesn't look like Atlantis, and then the story starts. So I would not want to screw things up by actually announcing where I want to go in the TARDIS and getting there. I think what I really ought to do is say, well, I'd really like, you know, to take a trip to Gallifrey around the end of the War Games and find out what actually happens.
Good choice.
I'd just like to be hanging around there and find out what happened between the end of the War Games and the beginning of Spearheads.
Oh, you know your Doctor Who very well.
You know this.
Impressive. Yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you so much for your time, Neil. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
So well.